stop. Before you eat one more thing today, give me 60 seconds. Because what I'm about to tell you could change how your brain ages for the rest of your life. Right now, as you watch this, something is happening inside your head that you cannot feel. You can't see it. You won't notice it today or tomorrow, but it's happening. Your brain is aging, quietly, a little faster every year that passes. And here's the terrifying part. Most people don't notice a thing until the day they walk into a room and forget why. Until a name they've known for 30 years suddenly vanishes mid-sentence. Until they reread the same paragraph 4 times and nothing sticks. By the time you feel it, the clock has already been running for years. Now, what if I told you there's one ordinary fruit? Something you've walked past in the grocery store 100 times. And it doesn't just slow that aging down by a few days or a few weeks. It's been linked to turning your brain's clock back by up to 2.5 years. I know exactly how that sounds. Too good to be true. Another miracle food headline. So let me be crystal clear about where this comes from. Because this isn't a trend, it isn't a supplement ad, and nobody's trying to sell you a pill. This comes from Harvard. Researchers at Harvard Medical School and Brigham and Women's Hospital ran one of the longest studies of its kind ever conducted. We're talking over 120,000 people, tracked not for a month, not for a year, for decades. Their diets, their habits, their brains, measured, recorded, followed across their entire lives. And buried inside that mountain of data, they found a pattern so clear the scientists themselves called it significant public health news. The people who ate this one type of fruit consistently, their brains held on longer. Their memory faded slower. They stayed sharper, deeper into old age than the people who didn't. 2.5 years younger, on the inside. From food, from something you can buy for a couple of dollars. Here's what makes this so frustrating. Almost nobody is doing it. Not because it's hard, not because it's expensive, but because nobody told them. The information was sitting in a scientific journal, written in language designed to put you to sleep, while the rest of us kept reaching for the snacks that quietly speed the whole process up. So, in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 5 fruits the research keeps pointing to, counting down from number 5 all the way to the one that stood above everything else. And I'm warning you now, number 1 is going to surprise you, because it's probably already in your fridge. You've just been eating it wrong, too little, too rarely at the wrong times, to ever feel the effect. But before we get there, you have to understand number 5, because number 5 is the one most people get completely wrong. They think it's healthy, they eat it every single day, and it works against everything we're about to cover. Stick with me. By the end of this, you'll never look at the fruit aisle the same way again. Let's start with number 5. And this is the one that's going to sting a little, because you probably think you're already doing it right. Number 5 is citrus, oranges, grapefruit. The bright, juicy stuff your mom told you to drink every morning so you'd get your vitamin C. And here's the science she got right. Citrus is loaded with a flavonoid group that researchers keep flagging in the data. In that 2021 Harvard-linked flavonoid research, the people who did best over time were eating everyday foods like orange juice, oranges, peppers, apples, and pears. Vitamin C also helps your body build collagen, the scaffolding that keeps your skin firm and your blood vessels young. So far, so good, news medical. But here's where almost everyone sabotages themselves. They don't eat the orange, they drink it. And the second you strip the fiber out and pour it into a glass, you've created a sugar bomb. That juice hits your bloodstream like a wave. Your blood sugar spikes, and every time blood sugar spikes, sugar molecules latch onto the proteins in your body, including collagen, in a process scientists literally call glycation. The nickname for what it does? Sugar aging, stiffer joints, duller skin, faster wrinkles. So the fruit that's supposed to keep you young in juice form can quietly speed you up. The fix is almost insultingly simple. Eat the whole fruit. Peel the orange, chew it. The fiber slows everything down, flattens the sugar spike, and lets the good compounds do their job. Whole fruit in, juice out. That one swap alone changes the game. Got it? Good, because number 4 builds directly on top of it. Number 4 is the strawberry, and this isn't a guess. This is one of the 2 berries that showed up again and again in that massive Harvard nurses' health study. Remember, over 120,000 people, tracked for decades. When the researchers sorted out who kept their memory sharpest into their 70s and beyond, strawberries and blueberries kept rising to the top. Harvard Gazette. Why strawberries specifically? They're packed with anthocyanins. That's the same pigment that gives them their deep red color. And anthocyanins aren't just for show, they're powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. And inflammation, the researchers believe, is one of the engines quietly driving your brain to age. In fact, that flavonoid research linked anthocyanins to a 24% lower risk of cognitive decline. Science Daily, 24%. From a fruit you can buy frozen, year-round, for almost nothing. Picture it this way. Think of 2 people the same age, same town, same job. One of them has a small bowl of berries a few times a week without thinking twice. The other never bothers. Fast forward 15 years, when on paper and memory tests, one of them is measurably sharper than the other. Same age, different brain. That's the gap we're talking about. So here's your second fix, and it's a small one. You don't need a perfect organic farmer's market basket. Frozen strawberries hold their anthocyanins just fine. 2 to 3 servings a week is the range the research points to. Toss them in. Done. But here's the thing. Strawberries are good. Citrus, done right, is good. Neither of them is number 1, because the next 2 fruits, numbers 3 and 2, are where the science stops being gentle and starts getting serious. One of them attacks aging in a way the others can't even touch, and the studies behind it aren't small. That's where this turns. Now we go deeper, because numbers 3 and 2 don't just feed your brain. They fight aging at the cellular level, and once you understand how, you can't unsee it. Number 3, the apple. An apple a day. You've heard it your whole life like it's a nursery rhyme, but the science underneath it is real. In that Harvard-linked flavonoid research, the people who aged best were eating everyday foods like apples and pears. And the headline number should stop you cold. Just half a serving a day of flavonoid-rich foods was linked to a 20% lower risk of cognitive decline. News Medical Science Daily. Half a serving, that's a few bites. What makes the apple special is a compound called quercetin, concentrated right in the skin. And here's where it gets fascinating. Quercetin is one of the molecules scientists are now studying for its ability to target zombie cells. These are old, broken cells that refuse to die. They just sit in your tissues, leaking inflammation, dragging everything around them down with them. Researchers literally call them senescent cells, and clearing them out is one of the hottest frontiers in aging science right now. So the fix? Eat the whole apple. Skin on. That's where the quercetin lives. Peel it, and you've thrown away the best part. But hold that thought, because number 2 takes this mitochondria and aging idea and turns it up to full volume. Number 2 is the pomegranate, and this one isn't folklore, this is hard, modern science. When you eat pomegranate, your gut bacteria convert its compounds into a metabolite called urolithin A. And urolithin A does something almost nothing else in your diet can do. It cleans out your dying batteries. Let me explain. Inside every cell, you have tiny power plants called mitochondria. As you age, these break down, and your body gets worse at clearing the broken ones out. They pile up. They clog your cells. And that buildup is one of the reasons muscles weaken and bodies grow frail. Earth.com. Urolithin. A flips that switch back on. Scientists at a leading research institute called it the only known molecule that can relaunch the cell's mitochondrial cleanup process. In worms used for aging studies, urolithin A extended lifespan by more than 45% compared to the control group. In rodents, it improved muscle function and boosted exercise endurance in both young and old animals. And in humans, A 4-month trial of older adults found that it benefited muscle endurance and mitochondrial health markers. Science Daily +3. Think about what that means. Not covering up the signs of aging, actually targeting one of its root mechanisms. Now, one honest catch, and it matters. Not everyone's gut bacteria can make urolithin A from pomegranate. Studies found only around 12% of people had meaningful levels at baseline, and roughly 40% started producing it after pomegranate intake. So the fix is simple but specific. Eat real pomegranate, the seeds, the arils, regularly, and feed the gut bacteria that do the conversion. Whole fruit, not the sugary cocktail pomegranate juice blends. NutraIngredients.com. Timeline. So look at where we are. We've cleaned up sugar aging, we've fed the brain, we've targeted zombie cells, we've recharged the body's batteries. And yet, not one of these is number one. Because number one is the fruit that showed the single strongest, most consistent result across that entire decades-long Harvard study. The one the researchers themselves singled out. And the reason it beats everything else is going to change how you eat tomorrow morning. That's the climax. And it's coming next. This is it. Number one, the fruit that beat everything else in one of the longest studies of its kind ever run. It's the blueberry. I know, it looks too ordinary to matter. A handful of little blue spheres you toss on cereal and forget about. But inside that decades-long Harvard nurses' health study, over 120,000 people, brains tested again and again across the years, the blueberry didn't just perform. It stood at the very top. Blueberries and strawberries showed the greatest benefit of any fruit measured. Harvard Gazette. And here's the number that should stop you in your tracks. The people eating the most of these berries, their brains aged slower, measurably. Those who ate more berries experienced delayed cognitive decline by up to 2.5 years. The conversation. 2.5 years younger on the inside from a bowl of fruit. So why blueberries above all? It comes down to the deep blue color itself. That color is anthocyanin, and blueberries are absolutely loaded with it, roughly 164 milligrams per 100-gram serving. But the pigment isn't the magic. The magic is where it goes. Science Daily. Most compounds you eat never reach your brain. Your brain has a security wall around it, the blood-brain barrier, that blocks almost everything. But anthocyanins can cross that barrier and travel straight into the regions responsible for learning and memory. The conversation. Sit with that. The pigment that makes a blueberry blue can pass into the exact part of your brain that holds who you are. Your memories, your names, your stories. And once it's there, it fights the inflammation that quietly corrodes those circuits as you age. That's why anthocyanins were tied to a 24% lower risk of cognitive decline. Science Daily. Now let me make this real. Forget the statistics for 1 second and picture someone you love. A parent, a grandparent. Picture the slow, terrifying erosion, the repeated questions, the misplaced keys, the moment they look at a face they've known for decades and something doesn't connect. That fear, that grief of watching a mind slip away, that is the thing on the other side of this. And the research is telling us in plain numbers that one of the simplest foods on earth is associated with pushing that horizon back. Not curing it, not guaranteeing anything, but buying time, measured in years, for the part of you that makes you you. Here's the part that should make you angry. The fix costs almost nothing. The study didn't find this in people eating exotic powders or $1,000 supplements. The benefit showed up at just 2 or more servings of berries a week. Harvard Gazette. 2 servings a week. So here's exactly what to do starting tomorrow. Keep a bag of frozen blueberries in your freezer. Frozen holds the anthocyanins just as well as fresh, and it's cheaper. A small handful, 2 to 3 times a week minimum. Drop them in oatmeal, yogurt, a smoothie, or eat them straight. That's the entire protocol. That's the thing decades of Harvard data keep pointing back to. Now, one promise I'll keep to you. The researchers were careful, and so am I. This is an association, not a magic reversal. They couldn't rule out that healthier people simply eat more berries. No fruit stops the clock completely. The conversation. But here's what's undeniable. The downside is zero. The cost is pocket change. And the potential upside is years of a sharper mind. So the only real question left is what you do with that. So let's bring it all together, and because you now know something most people will go their whole lives never hearing. You started this video thinking, aging was just something that happens to you. Something you wait for, dread, and accept. But that's not the whole story. The decades-long Harvard research and the science that surrounds it points to a quieter truth. A piece of how your brain and body age is sitting on the end of your fork every single day, and you get to decide what's on it. Let's recap the 5. Number 5, citrus, full of vitamin C and flavonoids that help build collagen and protect the brain. But eat the whole fruit. The second you turn it into juice, you trade the benefit for a sugar spike that speeds aging up. Number 4, strawberries. Rich in anthocyanins, the anti-inflammatory pigment that showed up again and again in the people who kept their memory sharpest. 2 to 3 servings a week, fresh or frozen. Number 3, the apple. Skin on, always. Because that's where the quercetin lives, the compound scientists are now studying for clearing out the worn-down zombie cells that quietly drive aging. Number 2, pomegranate. The only common fruit whose compounds your gut can turn into urolithin A, the rare molecule that helps your cells clean out their dying batteries and recharge. Eat the real seeds, feed the bacteria that do the work. And number 1, the blueberry. The fruit that stood at the very top of the Harvard data. The anthocyanins that cross straight into your brain's memory centers and fight the inflammation aging it. Linked to a brain up to 2.5 years younger for 2 servings a week in pocket change. Now here's the part I really want you to hear. Don't walk away from this anxious. Walk away empowered. Because look at what this list actually is. It's not a punishing diet. It's not expensive. It's not complicated. It's berries, apples, pomegranate, citrus. Food that's already at your grocery store, probably already in your kitchen. You don't have to overhaul your life. You have to add a handful of color to your plate a few times a week. That's it. The most powerful thing in this whole video is also the easiest. And the best time to start isn't next month or next year when you finally feel your memory changing. It's the next time you open your fridge. Small choice. Repeated for years. That's how the people in that study quietly aged slower than everyone around them. Not one heroic moment. 1,000 tiny ones. So your brain tomorrow morning is being shaped by what you decide tonight. Make it count. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, which number are you starting with? Are you grabbing blueberries? Finally eating the apple skin? Tell me the number, 1 through 5, so I can see which one wins. And if even one fact in this video surprised you, hit subscribe, because the next one is on the everyday habits that age your brain faster than anything on this list. And most people do all of them without realizing. Take care of that mind of yours. It's the only one you get.